greetings. This is Father Michael with our word of the week. This week's word is Passio. The Latin word which can mean passion, and this of course is Passion Sunday, the moment when we remember Jesus and those great events of our salvation, beginning with his coming into the temple, his cleansing of the temple, Palm Sunday, and then what happens? The Last Supper, his betrayal, his denial, ultimately that passage through his suffering of crowning with thorns, scourging at the pillar, way of the cross, and ultimately death on Good Friday. This is the Sunday where we traditionally read the fullness of that story and we enter into it. And it's almost too much. I mean, we literally have all of our lives to unpack the great love that God has for us in these key days and moments of our salvation. But back to Passio. So what does Passio mean? Well, in Latin, words can have multivalent meanings depending on how they're used in context. So Passio could simply mean to suffer, to endure. But it also has and can connote a sense of perseverance, right? It's not simply to suffer or to, in a sense, be impinged upon, but it also means to have strength in the very midst of that suffering. In the midst of that diminishment, there's real courage, there's real endurance. So Passio can mean suffering, but also can mean strength or endurance. Just to use one little image from all of the events that happened from Palm Sunday all the way to Good Friday, what jumps out to me is something that I've often thought of when I've done the Stations of the Cross. And every Friday here at St. Dominic's, we have Stations of the Cross at 7:30. There's soup and supper before that, a little series that we're running. At 7:30, we gather for the stations. And I love when I lead the stations to put myself into the position of Christ himself. The particular version, whether it's the Alphonsus Liguori or the Every Person's Way of the Cross, invites us to walk with Christ as he's walking to his death in order that he might show his love for us, and that we might insert our own experience of life, where we are in life, that we might walk with that same sense of endurance, of suffering, for all the travails of our life in union with him. Why? To show how much we love. We want to return that love of God so he can use us to transform the world. 3 of the Stations of the Cross have a similar theme. Jesus falls, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I often wonder to myself if you will, the will of the Father is for Jesus to give all of himself. I think the first time Jesus falls, why bother getting up? In other words, if Jesus simply took the cross on his shoulders, walked a few hundred yards, and then collapsed and died, that would have been enough, right? He literally would have spent all that he had. And so why does he get up? Again and again and again. I think it's this reason, to show us that in our lives we're going to fall again and again and again. And so by way of example, he is the exemplar of what? Of endurance in the midst of suffering. It's one thing simply to be able to suffer and to suffer well, but to continue to endure again and again and again. In this way, we might think of Jesus not falling 3 times, but sometimes it's helpful for me to consider those stations as Jesus getting up 3 times, Jesus rising again and again and again, and ultimately rising up and being lifted up on the cross so that, as it says in our liturgical prayers, he might gather all who are suffering, all who are enduring pain, affliction, and trauma. He might gather all of the world's burden onto his strong arms and hold them in his sacred heart. Only in this way, that is the endurance of Passio, the endurance of suffering, can we truly be united with him on the cross. Let's use this Holy Week as a time to meditate on his passion, not only his physical suffering, but that strength of endurance to know that just as he got up again and again and again, we too can rise again and again and again with his love, that he might come to life within us. Amen. Amen. If you're enjoying these videos, do like, comment, subscribe. Also go to our website. May the Lord indeed radiate in your life, and may we radiate the joy of the gospel here in the heart of the city.